Welcome to the Fit for Business and Life podcast. The Fit for Business and Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network, improving the performance and transforming busy and overweight professionals, business owners, and consultants along with their teams to become happier and more confident. The Fit for Business Life podcast is all about sharing passion, knowledge, and experience around business and personal performance from our host, myself, Martin Sharp, a 30-year change maker in businesses large and small, and Dominic, a world traveller and life enthusiast, plus special guests sharing their know-how and experience in making changes in business and in themselves, featuring inspirational stories, insights, tips, practical knowledge, and bringing more healthier, happier, and higher achievement to your world.
Why not follow this podcast? We're live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you're watching this on YouTube, please drop a like and hit that subscribe button. Comment below what you would like us to talk about in future episodes. Also, if you have not already, follow us on Spotify. We very much appreciate all of your support.
So sit back and enjoy this episode of the Fit for Business Life podcast, brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network.
Wow, yeah, we've been off for a minute. There's actually cobwebs on this mic.
We've actually not done a recording for over a month.
No, yes, it was before the new year, wasn't it? We're taking a bit of a break.
It is. So we're back. We've got lots of things going on. And actually, it's interesting because we were trying to think of, what the kind of topics to talk about for this season. And actually, I think the big topic we should talk about is change, because change just happens all the time.
It really, really does. And I think there has been definitely a lot of change just even since we last spoke on here. So happy to go into that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of changes coming up ahead. We've got the, I've got the ultramarathon, which we've been working towards, and we've talked about in the podcast over the last year. It's now going to be middle of March when it happens, 14th of March. So that'll be my first ultramarathon. So that'll be a big change, obviously achieving yet something else. And also it opens up the opportunity of what am I going to do next? So that kind of is change. You've obviously got changes coming on towards the end of the year.
Yes, I definitely do have some exciting changes ahead. But yeah, to talk about your ultramarathon first, if you want to delve into that a little bit. I do have a question around you. You're saying there already that you're going to have another goal to chase, but you're sort of already still chasing this one. So how many goals ahead do you often structure yourself?
So there's no exact number. It's not like, for example, I'll say I'm going to have 10 goals to achieve. But what I do try to do is make sure I never have a period in my life where I don't have a goal. Because as soon as you get to a point where you don't have a goal, you just start to drift. And that drift is where danger kind of happens. It's where you can sometimes get stuck in the doldrums, as if you were taking a nautical kind of term. And you can go round and round in circles. You can not progress forwards. You can be degrading the performance that you've already had. So you always need to be in a position where you know what the next goal is going to be and where it's going to take you. I mean, one of my next goals, because I do more than one at a time, is going to be around climbing to Everest Base Camp. So the plan for that is to do it in October of this year. So that'll be where I will switch my focus into really training for that and get ready to do that. That'll be 3 weeks of walking in the Himalayan hills, and
so to relate that to change, then what changes are you going to have to make? What training routine for that compared to running? Because this running schedule has seemed quite like it's much different to the other ones. I feel like you had all those weeks in a row of like loads and loads of long runs. And now it's kind of the opposite way in the fast-paced, really short runs. Like you're doing like a marathon a weekend at one point, and now it's down to the 5-6 kilometer runs. And then leading up to the ultramarathon, no training at all, right? Then when you finish the ultramarathon, you've got the 6-month period. Like, are you going to change your training for the expedition?
It's amazing the perception versus reality, isn't it? There, and I think that's a whole different topic we can look at. The training has changed. So at the moment, the weekday training is smaller. Yeah, it's usually somewhere between 5 and 10k each day. For 4 days of the week, and then I'm doing the park run on the Saturday, and then I've got a long run every Sunday. So
the park run is also 5k though.
That's right, but the long runs are like 21k, 38k. 42.2k. So, at the moment, my training run is a half marathon or a marathon.
So what I've confused there is there every weekend.
Yeah.
And then in between, you just have like shorter, faster runs. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're putting yourself through that point of doing like a marathon a weekend, and it's tough. It is hard work, by the way. And I never thought I'd be in a position where I'm saying I'm doing a marathon as a blinking training run. I mean, that's just it's just it beggars belief. I mean, when we think last year, the marathon was the target. It was huge. It was monumental. I was worried about whether I'd be able to achieve one. Now it's
you say this, but it was 3. I still think you can't gloss over that. You were training to do 3, not 1, because that was a whole part of podcasts I've done in the past of how that is different, because the whole thing was you cannot get injured. Whereas this time, I mean, you don't want to get injured, but you don't have to hold back quite as much. So
yeah, agreed. And but it's, because there's only the one to do. But the same things apply, because now, if I'm doing a marathon every weekend or half marathon every weekend, I still can't get myself injured.
Yeah, because they still risk injury. Just because it's not an event doesn't mean in the world you're still not going to get injured.
Yeah. Because it's still mileage. It's still what your body has.
You're still doing the same thing. There's just no
no crowds. There's no medal. There's no nothing. This is the train. This is the hard part. This is the bit that most people don't see. Is that kind of the work that you put in beforehand. I mean, it's a classic tale of every entrepreneur, because when you talk about entrepreneurs and talk about business, you see those that are incredibly successful, and everyone goes, "Oh, they're a self-made man. It happened overnight, etc." And they literally are seeing the tip of the iceberg. What they don't see is the kind of the years, the decades, the number of failures, etc., that's happened. I mean, one of my mentors, he was a serial entrepreneur since he was 22. He was well into his 40s until he actually got a business that worked, but he managed to get that business, scale that business in 5 years, and sell the business for like 12 million. But that didn't happen overnight. But that's the bit that everybody sees. That's the bit that everybody remembers. But they don't see all the different other businesses that he was part of, the things that failed, the things that taught him so many lessons, etc. The times when he got into some serious bad trouble because of chose the wrong partners to be in business with and things. And those are all the training that he had as being an entrepreneur to get to that success, that one moment effectively. And the same happens, when it's about anything that you're trying to do, any goal you're trying to achieve. There's going to be all of those longer days, that kind of effort that you have to put in just to get to that moment. So it is crucially important that you enjoy that process, because if you're in a position where you don't enjoy it, you spend more time in it than you do at that moment where you're running that final race. You've achieved that final goal, so you need to make sure that whole process that you're doing, you're enjoying as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And then, like, I guess it is where to go next, what to pivot to, and obviously on your health and fitness side of it, I'm choosing to do Everest Base Camp.
Yeah, so that's going to be quite interesting. We did Kilimanjaro last year and took a few people there with us. It was really good fun. Definitely enjoyed it. It pushed my limits. And I can still remember one of the kind of big questions people were asking is, what's harder, running in a marathon or Kilimanjaro? And again, I think both are equally hard. But it all comes down to
just in different ways, I guess.
Yeah, it's all down to the training that you have to put in and things. So when you're training for a marathon, it's consistent over a longer period of time. I mean, it does take your body about 12 weeks to adjust. When you're going for Kilimanjaro, it was hard during that kind of 1 week of doing the climb itself. I mean, the preparation for it, doing the kind of climbs 2 or 3 times a week. It's good fun. It was enjoyable, but nothing was as high as that or as long as that. So,
did you find one or the other more mentally challenging in the moment? Because on Kilimanjaro, obviously we discussed it in the past, like suffering from altitude sickness and stuff like that. Like, I imagine that's hard to push through versus the run when you hit the wall or whatever. Like, which would you say is more of a mental battle in the moment? I know they're both different battles, but would you say one was particularly harder than the other?
It's a really, really good question. One I haven't really thought of until this very second. So I'm going to give you my off-the-cuff response, effectively. I mean, when it was happening, going up Kilimanjaro and going through the altitude sickness, I wasn't really aware. So it wasn't like it was hard to go through. It was just I would collapse. And the best part about that experience was I had a really good team of guides that had done it loads of times. They'd seen this type of thing happen before. They were there. They were supporting me. There was the rest of the guys that were there that were walking up together. So we had about 15 people that were all there cheering me on effectively. And and it didn't matter how slow we went or how fast we went. We were just there to complete it, and that level of support and help and assistance is just phenomenal.
And probably more so than what you'd get with the running. Got a support crew like that.
Yeah, and I think that was the kind of place I was kind of going to in my own head, because going back to and there were some fairly hard times. I remember the couple of bits from London Marathon that were really tough were coming into the Limehouse Tunnel, and you come out and you kind of, the baking hot heat in Canary Wharf was just, it was stifling. But at that stage, I still had energy because it was just over the half marathon marker. But then that kind of really zapped your strength all the way around it. So I was really thankful for the water cannons from the fire brigade, and then kind of coming down into embankment. It was nice to see friends and stuff cheering me on, which was good, because I mean the cheers of the crowds are just phenomenal. They do carry you forwards, but seeing those kind of friends there is good. And I know I was almost incoherent. I think I was chatting to Paul for about 2 seconds. I was running past. He was trying to give me a glass of Lucozade because he was helping out the Lucozade stand, and I think I just poured it down him.
Oh wow!
So I mean, it wasn't the best encounter, and I do remember I kind of came out the other side and seeing the guy dressed as the London Eye, and he was regretting his choices of costume, and not even getting a grunt out of the guy in the rhino costume. I mean, my God, that guy was a hero, absolute hero. It was tough. But then when you kind of get past that bit, so that would have been probably about 24 miles in, about 38 kilometers or something. It actually became easier. So as you kind of turned and you saw Westminster, and you went past what is the Big Ben and towards the Buckingham Palace and stuff, it almost became easier. Because it's like, oh, I can make it. I'm almost done. It's like, it's here. I can see it. It was so much more tangible. But for that moment, almost like, yeah, that was probably the hardest part. And
so until you break the back of it, it's really tough. And then when you do see kind of like light at the end of the tunnel, it seems from what you were saying there that you feel a lot more inspired, and then it actually becomes more easier, and also it sounds more rewarding.
Yeah, so
situation.
So I think both were mentally challenging. I think the support from the mountain climbing. So I think if I was trying to climb Kilimanjaro on my own,
you might have died if you're just passing out up there.
I would have turned back, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have achieved it. I think that's the truth answer. I think it was because I had qualified people there. They knew what they were doing. They'd seen this before, etc. That meant I could do it.
Okay.
So, and it was leaning on their confidence a lot that actually sort of carried me through. Whereas I think the marathons, it's just tough. I mean, the hardest one was once I got up to the top of the Chevin at Leeds Marathon, which was the last of the three, and there was nothing left in the tank. I think I walked for about 2 miles, and I remember we got to one corner just outside Headingley, and I saw a friend of mine who's actually one of the guys I train, and he just waved at me, and I came over, and so I gave him a hug, and he says, "How are you feeling?" And I just said, "I'm feeling absolutely dreadful," and he just said, "You can do this. You know you can do this. I've seen you can do this.
Oh yeah,
you'll make it happen." And that
same goosebumps.
Yeah, confidence that somebody else can have in you can actually make that big a difference. So it's not always what you do. It's having that support crew around you, because people who support you, and they don't necessarily have to be those that are that for example, like a paid coach or something, or your direct family, but it's not that extended kind of family that you've created, of friends, of acquaintances, of whatever else, that are absolutely willing you on. It can be unbelievably powerful.
Yeah, that's amazing. So from those two experiences, then I'll start with the running, since that's coming up sooner. Is there anything you would change after having those experiences? But at this point, we have to make it clear that you've run 5 marathons now, because you ran those. That was the initial goal, and then you did one, 6, 7. How many have you done?
I've run 7 marathons.
7. Yeah, I was just counting them in my head there. So, would you say there's been any changes from the first one you did to now, and then also leading up to the ultra, in terms of like the strategy of like, well, I guess what can the strategy really be? Like the way, just more than me. So just talk me through if there's been any change of the strategy since the first one to now.
Well, I think the big difference is, and I kind of saw this and felt this as I went into the Yorkshire Marathon in October, going through the previous four that year. So the Sea York Run York, London, the Leeds, Milton Keynes, etc. I was so hyper vigilant. Everything had to be right. I was looking at every single dot, just trying to make sure we got it all sorted out.
So we're looking at your stats.
I was looking at stats. I was looking at logistics. I was reading what other people were saying. I was just trying anything just to make sure I kept this thing absolutely on point. And then as we kind of moved throughout the rest of the year, as I was doing other 10Ks, I was doing other 10 milers. We were doing a lot of the hill walking, etc. My approach kind of changed. I actually relaxed a bit more into it because I knew what was coming up. I'd already done the preparation time. I'd already done the tapering. I'd already done the how to meal prep beforehand. I'd already got the equipment. I'd already used it so many times that it's just second nature.
So everything that happened was a bit familiar, not stepping into the unknown anymore.
Exactly.
Because that can be often the scary thing, isn't it? The unknown. But now you have the known. And it's just about like, oh, I know this works and that didn't. And if I don't do this and I feel like this, but that's okay because I can fix it with this kind of thing. Instead of being like, like trying to check the statistics all the time and being like, oh, why has it done that? Why has it spiked there? Why do I feel like this? But this says that kind of thing.
Exactly. And going into the Yorkshire Marathon in October, I was a lot more relaxed. I knew more about pacing. I knew more about how my body felt at certain times. I knew, rather than reading and like doing it from book knowledge, now instinctively knew effectively, you know, why certain things were happening to me at certain points.
And I'm curious, when you say you feel, you went into, so the first four were like that, and then when you get number 5, 6, 7, you felt more relaxed. Would you say you actually physically felt more relaxed and had a physiological effect in the fact that your cortisol was lower and you felt less stressed and your body felt more loose? Did that actually make a difference as well, or not?
Well, it must have done. I mean, when we did the 5th marathon in October, I did a sub 5 hour, which was the quickest I've done any of the marathons in last year.
And what number marathon was that?
That was the 5th.
Oh, okay. So the big difference there.
So then between October and this year, when we started running the marathons now as part of the training, I've eased back. So again, the training marathons haven't been to the same intensity. So I'm not looking at trying to get a sub 5 hour in the training marathons. I'm looking at putting the miles under the feet so that when it comes to doing the ultra, my body's adapted to be able to put that kind of mileage in. So the fact that these have been like over 6 hours, it doesn't worry me. In fact, that's great because it means that I am not stressing my body out too much. So again, remember what goal you're trying to achieve. If your goal is to try and, in a couple of weeks' time or whatever it is to run an ultramarathon, then burning yourself out right now in the training run doesn't help you.
Yeah, because you're trying to prep your body. And I guess in your mind, you want to know that you can actually even run for those 6 hours. So then when it's less, it's like, oh, nice. So I can understand that.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
And do you think the change in weather compared to when you first started doing them is going to make a difference? Because you're saying London was boiling, but when you do it in March, I mean, 50-50 chance it's snowing or the sun's out. Obviously, snow will slow you down, but let's say, I mean, it can be a bit wet, whatever, but it's not going to be as hot, so your body's not going to be under as much like load and physical exertion from the heat. Do you think that'll affect your time in a positive way?
Definitely. So I've seen that happen as I run through the summer, even with things like 10Ks. When I do it in the winter, as long as it's not too cold, it tends to be faster, easier, I recover quicker. So for me, running into like a 2, 5, 10 degrees, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Those are some sweet numbers there for me. I mean, some of the people are probably thinking it's Baltic, but actually you can layer up, you can take layers off, you can control your temperature a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it? Control.
Yeah, when you kind of, with London, when it was like 20 odd degrees, there was no control. You couldn't take any more layers off. I mean, I wasn't wearing that much
you can't
at that
take
point.
Your skin off.
Exactly. So there wasn't that opportunity there, and it does zap your energy. Absolutely.
Yeah. And beyond the running, then, is there any other change you've got going on in business or in life?
Well, we've got all sorts of changes happening. We've got, from the business point of view, we've got the new book coming out this year. I'm just in the middle of writing.
Oh, yeah. Are we allowed to announce the title, or we're not doing that?
I'm not a runner. I've already announced it.
Oh, okay, right. There we go. So I had my eyes shut on that one.
So I'm just in the final quarter of the manuscript being written. So I'm literally at the point in the manuscript where we're talking about exactly what we're talking about here, the marathons themselves, and then that kind of post-marathon piece. And then what I've done is I've added on the ultra. So
that's going to be part of the I'm Not a Runner book too.
Is so once we kind of got that completed, got it written up in March, looking at the editing, getting an editor to go through that. Hopefully April, May, and then maybe look for a June, July launch.
That's very exciting. Nice summer launch as well, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
again, well, when was your first marathon?
The first time I did a marathon distance was Sea York Run York social marathon in February 25.
And what about the London?
That was my first race. So, first marathon race was the 27th of April 25.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say you could full circle it and release it on the same day, but April might be pushing the deadline a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be ready by then, no. Because it usually takes at least a good couple of months to get through the publishing process.
Yeah, it was a nice thought, but yeah, the times didn't quite align.
Absolutely. So we've got that kind of going on from a household perspective. Because, yeah, I mean, we're all connected with it. We live one life. We're one person, right? We've got obviously changes here. So my daughter's going to be moving on from college, which is good to see where her life takes her there. We've got changes. You're moving over to Australia for another 6 months.
Yep, that's the plan.
So you'll be enjoying that at the end of the year. So that'll be another big change. And yeah, I think those are kind of the biggest bits in my mind. Your brother's moving house this year, so probably helping him mid-year as well. Yeah. So there is changes happening there. So again,
it's like a new chapter of life, nearly.
Yeah, change is constant.
It's kind of like end of an era, really.
Yeah, so it's not a case of just looking at one thing. There is always more than one view. Working with the client side of things as well, there's going to be changes that they will bring. We'll bring new clients in that we'll be working with. Some people will complete their goal and be happy to work on their own going forward. So we'll lose some of them, which again is great. It's great to be able to get to that position actually where people have learnt the skills, they understand what they need to do, and they kind of feel free that they can fly on their own, knowing full well that if you have any questions, they can always come back. But
you followed a similar journey yourself as well, so like you learn it and then you kind of become a master at what you was.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a saying there somewhere.
For every master was once a disaster.
I feel like when the pupil becomes the teacher or whatever it is, there's something like that. But
as always, if you can remember what that quote is, pop it in the comments below. We'd be interested as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's gonna be a year of change in those type of things. But every year's a year of change.
Oh, every minute of every day is change, I feel.
But it's interesting. I mean, when you kind of look at change as a kind of discipline and what happens with people, certainly from the background of doing a lot of large-scale business changes that I've done, it tends to be that there's kind of type 1, type 2 people inside every organization. And you get those that are the type 1 type people, they embrace change, they love change, they deal with that. So again, you find a lot of people that run projects, project managers type things, architects, They love that kind of thrill of being able to get in somewhere, change it, deliver something new. But what they're not good at is actually then keeping the lights on, actually running that day to day as kind of the business as usual piece. And that's really the opposite side of the equation. So that's where you need those type 2 people, which those are people that love the day to day. They crave that standard normality, stability, making sure that things keep working and the kind of the harmony is kept across it. And they hate change. Absolutely love and detest it. So you kind of got these two big camps of people, and obviously everyone is on somewhere.
Well, it's a bit like a Venn diagram. They probably overlap a bit in the middle now.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, it's a massive continuum. I mean, nobody's ever on one specific end of the scale or the other. Probably 1 or 2 people, maybe. So everyone's usually somewhere within there. And again, it can change depending on what's example for business. For example, if you are a project manager and you love delivering great amounts of change, you might be absolutely at the far edge of that change mentality. But when you come to being at home, you might crave stability, and it might be because you've kind of had so much upheaval at work because you kind of drive and crave this change that actually you need that kind of harmony when you get back home or things. Or likewise, it might be the opposite way around. you don't like being the kind of person who creates that change inside your working environment. You like to know that you're going in there, you're doing a specific job, it'll last for a specific amount of time, it'll have a specific result, and then you kind of leave. And that's where you get your harmony from, effectively, that stability there. But it might be in your home life, you do crave change. So you might be the person that changes the living room round every quarter, or changes the way that the garden is, or maybe you crave going out to various different places all the time.
That is a really interesting perspective of how the flip-flop it works out. I was trying to think, what archetype do I fall into and what you might fall into. And I think that second, because I was like, well, I'm like one, but not like all the time. But that's like a good way to put it. I'm probably in camp number 2 in the workspace, whereas I feel like when I'm at home, I'm like, things I want to do in my life, things get a little more crazy in like the way that I think of it. So I fit more in like the archetype number 1. Whereas you're probably archetype 1 for both. So
yeah, I'm not very good at the day to day. I 100% agree with that. And yeah, I think I drive your mum nuts, let's face it. But it's just as it is. I mean,
yeah, I'd literally never thought about that before. So thank you for sharing that.
No, you're welcome. I mean, we are talking here specifically around, how the kind of mind works and how that kind of influences your goals, influences what kind of happens, and working with that within that kind of change framework. It kind of helps surface up some of those kind of key things, because sometimes people might be feeling stuck, or they might be feeling apprehensive or anxious or nervous, or the whole variety of other kind of things can bubble up to the surface when changes start to happen. And if it's because, they like and crave that kind of stability, you might need to take one set of tacks to help them be able to move forwards. Whereas somebody who, absolutely loves change, loves trying new things, etc., they may have issues around things like consistency and repeatability, etc.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, and how you the tactics you use with them to be able to kind of keep them on board and keep them motivated is going to be completely different again.
Yeah, so there'll be a fine balance in there somewhere. But yeah, surrounding yourself with the right network and community, like you talked about before, probably helps with that. Getting different people with different archetypes, different characteristics to kind of like balance all that out. So then when change does happen, everyone don't freak out.
Exactly. So you have that kind of there's that level of stability that people have, but then at the same time you've got this level of change, growth, and that's almost like the dichotomy of the human condition. If you crave, I don't know, you want to crave to be recognized for something, but also you want to be part of the crowd. You want to strive to change, but at the same time you want to have things that are stable and stay the same.
Yeah, there's always that safe.
So there's always these two characteristics, and once you kind of get too much of one thing, what you find is people tend to drop back into the other. And it's almost like a reaction, and that's not a bad thing, because sometimes you can push yourself that a little bit too far. You kind of striving for that growth that a little bit too much, and it kind of goes beyond growth and into kind of panic or something. So it's like pulling back and going back to that space of safety and comfort, at least for a period of time, to almost like regroup is a good thing. It can get you rebalanced, get you recentered, get you in a position where you can move forwards. But at the same time, you don't want to stay there for too long, because it can be debilitating. And that's where, for example, setting these goals on a regular period and making sure you've always got a goal, it kind of stops you from wallowing in that kind of comfort area for too long.
And it also gives you direction as well, because at least it's like a purpose outside. Because I guess that's why it's also nice to have business/work goals/career goals, and then also personal ones. But it might just be that maybe your work goal is to support your personal goals, and then that's fine as well. It's probably a bit more like what I do. But yeah, because you are very like goal driven. Like you have something not literally on the wall, but like what's opposite of physical? Like
virtual?
Not really, because that still exists. Like hypothetically, you've got like something on the wall. Yeah, hypothetically is wrong as well, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like you have it on the wall that you're going to achieve this goal, but then it always seems like you're always thinking about the next thing, but you don't actually have the next thing in place yet. So you were saying at the start of this that like you've got the ultramarathon coming up, and then 6 months later you've got the Everest Base Camp, which is exciting. Like my best friend from school is actually just finished Everest Base Camp actually, so that's pretty awesome. So it'd be cool to see you with similar photos in like 6 months' time. But then like you're probably also thinking beyond that, but you just don't quite know what it is yet. But you do set these like big ambitious goals, especially more recently. He seems to be into the more like adventure side of things, I've noticed.
Well, I think again, it's different times of life and different things can happen. For the last 20 years, you got to kind of, well, more than that, nearly last 30 years, my principle has been all around the family and making sure the family's been okay. So all my goals have been aligned to that. You know, so how can we educate you guys? How can we take you to nice places? How can we give you experiences that are going to set you up for life for doing something interesting? So, you know, taking you walking, climbing, canoeing, running, taking you to football practice, rugby practice, taking you to skate parks, taking you to museums and art galleries and culture and different cities and things, and experiencing different people. And all those things kind of were goals on my list of things to make sure those things happened. But it was part of that wider goal to make sure that actually you guys got that greater experience.
And do you think like fear of losing this purpose has driven you to do more extravagant goals, or do you think they were just kind of like you'd have done this stuff anyway?
Oh, they've always been on my bucket list, so it's just been a timing thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so yeah.
So, you know, the bucket list has the Cappadocia on there. It's got Machu Picchu on there. It's got so many amazing places that I would love to go see. So,
yeah, and then it's just a case of making it happen. Now, I do love the excitement, like that is cool, and yeah, perspective on like family coming first for a while, but now it's like a bit of a change. I just wasn't sure where the drive was coming from. If it was just like out of like, because obviously you don't really have that role anymore. Like if that kind of is like, oh, well, I'll go do this instead, or if it was more like, oh, like I need to do something, I'll do that. But it sounds like it was on your bucket list anyway.
Absolutely,
and it just comes to that point where you just pivot that way. So
yeah,
cool.
and it might sound a bit selfish, but it's got to the point now where I can have a bit more freedom. So I can start to think about what are the things that I wanted to really achieve. And it was really nice when your mum kind of just turned around to me and says, you've done so much for your family, and now it's your turn.
Yeah, and I guess this is like the tip of the iceberg you were talking about, like putting in a lot of graft basically to get here, and then it's like, right, I'll do this. So it's not like come from nowhere by the sound of it. It's always been there. It's just been bubbling in the background.
Yeah.
And now you have that place of selfishness, whatever. And then you can just go do your own thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, while it may appear selfish for some things, hopefully it is selfless for other things as well. So it's not a case of just take all the time, being very me-centric. I'm still looking at how can I give back? How can I help?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you're still pushing it back in a way that's like inspiring, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like you're not just doing it, you are kind of like still being a creator within the means of it.
Yeah.
Still pushing like content.
Yep, sharing the knowledge, showing people that they can do it. Those type of things. It makes a difference, and you don't know who you'll affect. I mean, it's like the chap over in Ireland who's given up smoking and drinking off the back of seeing me run the marathons.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And sharing the journey of going from where we're in 2024, not running at all, to actually running them in 2025. And it inspired him enough that he could say, actually, if you could do something as big as that, I should be able to do something like this. And you know what? He stays in touch, and he's doing amazingly well. So, Paul, if you listen to this, well done, bud.
Yeah, Paul.
So he's been off the cigarettes, he's been off the drink, he's exercising regularly, and he's feeling great about it.
Yeah, so it's crazy that your change has inspired their change, and that can happen.
And
that's awesome.
You never know who's kind of watching you, because again, a lot of people kind of watch in the background, and the number of times people have come up to me and just said, that's just been great. I love the way that you did whatever it was. So whether it's been snow sculpting, whether it's been the running, whether it's been the sharing the fitness journey, and it's sharing the warts and all. It's the human part of it, because we don't get it right all the time. There are days that things go really wrong. It's like when I tripped over the dog on New Year's Day. Damaged my shoulder, not really being able to train at the level from a weight training perspective since. But give myself another 4 weeks. Hopefully that healing will have completed, and I'll be able to get back into it. And I've shared that as being part of that journey, so other people can say it doesn't always go to plan. No,
and I guess there's a bit of serendipity in that, in the fact that like you shouldn't really be weight training right now anyway. So.
Well, yeah, there is something around that.
Like you're not going to miss it while you're running anyway. But then hopefully you finishing the running coincides with that final 4 week healing period. Then you can get back to it, and
yeah,
it's all worked quite nice then, hasn't it?
Exactly. So I think hopefully you guys have got a little bit more of an insight into what's going on in our camp. Trying to bring back some of those ideas around change, around like your mindset and things, and just really have a look at what's changing in your life. Have you got a goal set? Are you actually in a place where you're striving to do something? And it doesn't matter if you don't hit it. Okay, it's perfectly okay for you to stop and to change your direction and do something different if you need to. That's perfectly fine. But at the same time, keep setting up a new goal. So if you stop one thing, start something else. Move and keep moving.
Yeah, I guess that's the point in it. Like, if you do decide one thing's not possible, don't just stop doing anything. Like, if one gets, because I've had this before, just before we end this, like, where I've set a goal. This even happened this year, like where you've set a goal, gonna do this, but then like other things come into your life that becomes a bit more of like a priority and actually more beneficial. And then I've like tweaked those goals so they're slightly different, but I'm still like aiming towards something in that ballpark. And it's still something that I'm striving to do. It's just like basically the frequency of it didn't seem logical anymore.
Yeah.
So switched it up, and I think everything's like better and flowing better and still have the direction and purpose. So I think that's a good takeaway.
Exactly. Speaking of takeaways, we'd like to say a big thank you to you all for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network, helping busy professionals and their teams become more healthier, happier, and higher achieving in business and in life. If you'd like to join us as a guest or to get in touch and know more about what we've been talking about today, then we'd love to hear from you. Simply email hello@sharpfitforlife.com. Once again, thank you for listening to Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is produced and presented by Wax Tie Limited. Copyright is applied.